Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Inside Edge podcast. I am here with Coach Clark, as usual, to talk some hockey and goaltending. More specifically, we got some interesting stuff about the introductory and more intermediate drills that Coach runs through to get guys up to speed and to keep them sharp during the year and the off season.
Morning, Gehrig. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. A little kid slept for 4 straight hours last night, so I feel very, very lucky.
Yep. Little things. Little things. It's
Little
awesome.
wins.
Yeah.
Is there a specific place you want to start with that? Like a drill that you bring in guys, and this is like, hey, first and foremost, we need to establish this before we get any more
Yeah.
work done.
So we'll go to a drill where I call it it's just simply a backdoor drill, and the goalie has to face a situation where he makes a save and there's a rebound to his left or to his right. Getting to your new spot is really what it's all about, and getting there as quickly, as efficiently as you can. And really, this is all about your edge work. So this is about small pushes in the paint and how important it is to seal the ice and get there as big as you can. You know, like you're down in a butterfly, but you could be small, but you can also be big. So we try to be as big as we can.
Yeah, and what does that involve? Like chest up, chest forward.
Yeah, just make sure, we want to make sure your rear end is not down on your legs, on your calf,
Yeah,
right? So basically you work on your core and just make sure that you are as upright and tall as you can be. So we'll start the drill where the goalie is right in the center of the crease, as if the shot is coming from the middle of the blue line. The actual first shot will come from the face-off dot. So he will square up to that shot, and the shot has to be right on the ice. So he's got to drive his knees down and make that save. And I jokingly tell them every shot that goes in from the dot that beats you 5 holes, a $10 fine. They all get wide-eyed at that point, but jokingly. So as soon as there's also a screen, there's a player screening him. Most of the time that the shot will go through, but the rule is for the shooter, as soon as the puck hits his pads, you spin, and there's a backdoor puck at the top of the crease on the other side. So the goalie has to drive down, make that save, and then load up, rotate, load up, and go. And his path should be to the post, not outside, like a foot above the post, because there's room to go around him. So you really got to make sure you seal the ice, load up on that inside edge, and go and push. And when goalies first try this, they're usually really bad, but over time, they figure it out. And you can never practice this enough. I think every week it's important to get some reps in of this, even when you master it. And some of these guys are really good. Caden Lenz, for example, the kid in Vancouver now, is really, really good at this, and he's mastered it. So once you master it, you work on your pace and your control. But even when you completely figure it out and you're really good at it, you have to keep it sharp, and you got to get some reps in every week.
yeah, it's one of those things. Especially, I didn't play hockey until much later in life, so skating I thought would be the hardest part of picking up hockey and especially goalie. I was like, oh, I don't have to skate as much; it'll be easier. But yeah, once you start to do edge work and you realize you're not just sitting back on your ass in the net, it's
Yeah.
one of the more, I don't know how you, the muscle groups you start to feel for the first time in your life. Even as a 17-year-old kid, I was like, holy shit, I have never, my ass cheeks hurt. What is that?
Yeah. The one other thing that we do in this drill, you notice the goalie doesn't have a stick. So I typically will give him like a small medicine ball to hold. So we do this to make sure that he doesn't flail his arms when he's driving to his left. His arms aren't behind him to the right. So he has to do everything with his legs, everything. And I had one kid on the ice the other day, had never done this before. His name is Owen Kensel, and plays for Lincoln, AAA U18, and really talented goalie. And he had never done this before. And when he had taken maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 reps, and he got up and goes, "Wow, I can really feel it in my legs." But when you drive down, and then all of a sudden in a game, you've got to get to another spot to your left or, just east-west. If your hands aren't under control, your hands are behind you, for example, it doesn't allow you to rotate your torso the way you need to rotate it. So that's why your hands need to be out in front of you, or at least not flailing away. So if you can't rotate, you're never going to get square. You're never going to get to your new spot correctly and try to be as big. You'll get there, but you'll be side saddling, and there's a lot of daylight. So that's how we break it down. There's many parts of this drill where we break it down, but then at different stages of the drill, I'll give them their stick back, and now the shooter can do anything. Instead of just wheeling around and going inside the post, he can pull it back, he can wheel around the net, he can do anything he wants and be as creative as he wants. And that's a real challenge. But when I give the stick back, I also want them to have an active stick. And if the puck is laying there, top corner of the crease, I want him to go after it if it's appropriate. And so there's a lot of layers to this one drill, and it's a battle drill, but we try to, first and foremost, and I tell them this, Gary, I don't care in practice. I don't care if these pucks go in. I really don't care. These backdoor pucks. All I want you to work on is your push, and your target, your angle is to the post. Because if it's above the post, the potential for you blowing right by the post is great, way, way greater. If it's to the post, you're going to stop. And the gamble on this is that if you're above the post, you're cutting the angle down theoretically on the puck. And if you're back a little bit, say a foot, there's probably a little bit more net to shoot at. So it's a little give or take. But I'd rather have that guy just get to the post, make the save. Shooter makes a great shot on him, it goes bar down, and you got to tip your hat and say, nice shot. But what I want is for the goalie to get to his new spot with a sense of urgency and a sense of control, and at the same time seal that ice. It's all about getting to your spot. But how many times, Gehrig, have you either given up or seen leaky goals? There's a scramble in the paint or above the crease, and there's 4 sets of legs and there's 4 sticks, and the puck just takes a weird bounce and it trickles in. Yeah. And I really work hard on the goaltender, making sure he gets the landing gear down and seal that ice off. That's critical.
Yeah, it's again, I don't had much experience playing goalie, but you were talking about some things I want to highlight there that are super, super important and maybe don't jump out at you right away if you're just watching someone play goalie or if you're just a hockey fan. Control when you're moving like that is so crucial. Being able to be in control of your movements when you look like you're flopping and flying all over the place. A lot of these guys look like they're kind of improvising on the fly, but there is a method to the madness of, you talked about not flailing your arms around and stuff and being able to maintain control while you're pushing to a different part of your blue paint. It's such an important and underrated part of playing goalie that you think about some of the greatest guys that I've at least gotten to watch in my lifetime, and they're all, for the most part, minus Tim Thomas, my guy, very in control, very to a point, and they know where they are at all times. It's very obvious. And
yeah, I mean, if you're in control, you're going to be upright. Once in a while in the heat of the battle, you're going to find yourself on your stomach or on your back or whatever. Sometimes you get pushed a little bit, but we really, really try to stress, stay in control, get to your spot big, but make sure you stay between the pipes. Stay between the pipes. There's some goalies, NHL guys, you saw in the playoffs last year, goals were scored because, they were trying to get to their spot and they blew past the post and they're out. And, they were like a fish out of water, and all of a sudden a scramble ensues, and there's an open net goal. We could see that. We saw many of them in the last playoff season. So, I mean, you live in a pinball machine as a goaltender, and good luck. It's not easy. So you've got to simply do the best you can do, but try to stay as big as you can, as long as you can, and stay upright, stay big. But all comes down to skating, and all comes down to edge work, and there's many different ways. I think the elite goalies, or most goalies these days, before they really get going, or at some point in their practice, they do these really strange looking skating drills, but it's all about edge control. And I have several called the leap of faith and hops and slalom, just edge control skating drills outside the crease, like say blue line, board to board, but just to work on their edge control. And and it's critical because if you can't control your edges in the heat of the battle, then you're going to find yourself down and out or simply out of position, and you're going to expose more net.
I think that's personally why I love hockey so much too, because that's not exclusive to goalie. The whole game takes place with some sort of loose structure or game plan. But like you said, as a
Yep.
goalie, even if you have the best structure and best form of all time, you're going to end up on your stomach or your back at some point and have to make some crazy save. That's kind of the
Yeah.
game as a whole, at least from my perspective, is guys go out there with a plan, but you're also sort of freestyling once you get out there. You have a position in an area that's your responsibility, but it's feel.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point because the whole game is ad-libbing. You've got to create it as you go. And skaters deal with that just as much, if not more, than goalies because the only exception may be power play, especially teams, PK or power play. And that's a more controlled, very structured deal. But even then, you got to be able to create on the fly. But 5-on-5 or even strength, you got to create on the fly, and things change, and pucks get tipped. You get bad ice sometimes or whatever, and nothing goes as planned. But the best players can create; they can ad lib, and that's really what you need to go search out those types of players. But in the paint for goaltenders, that happens all the time. Things change, and the only thing you can do as a goaltender is just, everything you do is a gamble. There's no guarantee it's going to work, but just play the odds the best you can.
Yeah, I mean that is the position you're playing angles. You're playing to cut down the percentage chance of likelihood that they can get it behind you, much less in the net.
Yeah, but in scrambles, and it happens so much during the game. Doesn't matter if it's even strength or specialty teams, but there's always scrambles in the crease, and the goalies are trying to find the puck with their eyes, and something's thrown at the net and it hits a body in front, but you know they want to be in their spot. In other words, they want to be in the right position, but that changes so fast, and you've got to get to a new spot. How do you get to that new spot? Well, your edge work, right? Your skating. And if you can't, it's going to be tough. Sometimes, Gehrig, you see goaltenders with really wide stances, like their feet are really
Yeah,
far apart.
and they're
And
kind of
when that
lower.
happens, yeah, and they're shrunken. And when that happens, it's hard to load up and push east and west. You're locked in, or you're locked out, I should say. It's a better term. But we try to get goalies to get their feet a little bit more under them, and instead of way out wide. If you're way out wide, it's just really going to be hard to move. So what you wind up doing in certain situations, instead of pushing and getting to your new spot, you wind up reaching. And when you reach, daylight opens up and you don't get there. And there's simply more net to shoot at. But scrambles are tough. There's no guarantee because things go east west really, really fast. And we're not even talking about deflections, pucks that are shot off people and sticks and everything else. So, like I said, it's a pinball. It's life in a pinball machine, and good luck.
That was gonna be my next question. Do you have something for working with a crowd in front, or is that just? I mean, it's hard to find that many shooters, I imagine, but
Yeah, and no, it is. I mean, there's different drills that are done where shots, passes go to the point. We have a high tip guy, we have a net front guy. Net front guy's job is to take the goalie's eyes away. So yeah, there are many drills that you could do, just basically get people in front and shots from different spots. Blue line, top of the circle, right in the middle, hot lane, wherever it may be. But the goaltender, again, that's why we really try to stress stay between the pipes and don't get sucked out. Because when you get sucked out, it's gonna be really tough to recover. You got a long way to go. And another area that I really like to work on is dot lane drives. And that means a guy wheeling the puck down outside the dot. When I say dot lane, I mean face off dot. You got the neutral zone dot, other neutral zone dot. So that whole lane of the ice,
The outer two
It's a kind
corners
of
of
an
the ice, correct?
yes, yes, and it's a very awkward situation because if the goaltender completely squares up, uh, typically the back door could be open, and you always have people driving to the goal in a game situation. So if you completely square up there on offensive drives, it's going to be a little difficult. Picture this: as the puck crosses the blue line, it goes down to the hash marks. This is a guy carrying the puck on the outside, and then he gets between the hash marks and the goal line. That's really awkward. So goaltenders always battle. Should I go to RVH? Should I square up completely? What do I do? Should I be out off the post? And take and cut the angle down, or should I back in? So there's different variations. But the thing is, the angle changes every millisecond. A guy is driving down that lane, and as it comes down to a goaltender has to decide how he's going to play it and be consistent with it. And once in a while, pucks are going to go in, and coaches, head coaches, and ball coaches hate to see those really bad angle shots go in. They always think there's no reason for it, but typically goalies will cheat and they'll anticipate a pass or they won't track. And I always state, and I've said this before here, when really bad angle shots, say a guy is a foot over the goal line off to the wing, and he rips it. Sometimes the goaltenders don't track. They have the angle. There's nothing to shoot at. They have the net block, but they don't track. And just because you have the angle cut down perfectly doesn't give you the right to stop tracking. You can't never stop tracking. I don't care if the puck is 4 feet in front of you. That's especially when you're going to track it. And but there's a big difference between um, you know some goalies look in a general area. They're not truly tracking the black. And I've done it. I think every goalie has done it. You're kind of generalizing your vision, and you're looking down in an area, but you're really not tracking the puck, and that's when shots go in. And I ran this by a kid the other. I said, picture this: if you go to a game, you're a fan, and you're standing behind the glass, track the puck really, really well. All right. And then generalize your vision and don't track it really well. When you don't track it, it seems like it's going 800 miles an hour. But when you're truly tracking it, it seems actually like it's going slow. Right. And, it's a drill. I said, just try that sometime. But, I've done it many, many times, and a lot of the guys have people just standing behind the glass, but it makes you realize the importance of getting your eyes squarely on that puck. And there's no there's no great drill for that. There really isn't. I mean, it's a matter of a goaltender just dialing in and staying dialed in. And as you get older, it gets easier to get dialed in and be more consistent with that. Younger goalies, I'm saying junior, AAA or junior hockey, you see a lot of goalies that are very inconsistent in tracking the puck. But as you get older, you realize how critical it is, and you get dialed in. You just understand how important it is, and it's no different than any other part of the game. But if you can't track the puck very well, you're not going to go very far.
Do you think that is a trend with newer goalies now today, or has that always been a thing with goalies that learning to track the puck is something that comes with age,
I think guys get better at it as they get older,
just
and
naturally?
and I think there's more training. There's way better training now. But again, I don't think there's any drill. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think there are any great drills out there that works on, you know, tracking the puck, because it's your command of your eyeball, your eyesight, and making sure that the middle of your eye, your pupil is in the middle of your eye socket, and wherever that puck is, whether it's 4 feet in front of you, you're going to get your head down. The middle of your eyes are going to be in the middle of your socket. And that's really, really important. So picture this. Say you've got your cell phone in front of you, all right, and you're reading a text. Well, you don't have your head straight out and then run your eyeballs down. Get your head down and look at it. So that's one little deal I throw at the goalies, and that's how important it is. So when things are in tight, you've really got to get your tracking method really dialed in. But it's hard to practice that. It's just a matter of you making sure that you get dialed in and you're on it. And younger guys, younger guys got a lot of aspects of the position to kind of worry about. Um, and so they're thinking of 20 different things at the same time, if not more. But older goalies, it gets to be a routine. They know exactly where they are. They know exactly what they got to do. And it gets, the game gets easier as you get older. I think it's kind of obvious. But a young kid really can struggle with that. But it comes down to the mental side of it, too. You got to relax a little bit and just try to have some fun and try to remember the important parts. But in the heat of the battle, you got to rely on your instincts. And as you get older, your instincts get way, way better.
You just reminded me of a question I had too. So we both played golf, so I'll use golf as my analogy. I don't interlock my hands, coach. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
me,
So
I get told,
your pinky and your index finger, for
yeah,
example.
I
Yeah.
don't, I do not interlock. And I've been
Yeah.
told for the last 3 years golfing that I'm really going to want to go back and do this. Is there any habit that you notice, whether it's young guys or older guys, that it's a hard time if they've done it for a while that they can't break, and that it's something maybe not this serious, but on this level of, I see a lot of
Yeah.
guys doing this. It's not good for whatever it is, their edge work or whatever it may be.
Yeah. I think it's RVH. I think it's overuse of RVH.
What's RBH?
It's a situation where you're loading up on the post. So I think it's reverse horizontal. No, it's reverse horizontal. What's the RVH stand for? We'll have to edit this part.
RHB, I can understand it. Or edit
RVH,
it. RVH
reverse
or RHB, because you're saying reverse.
reverse vertical horizontal. So basically you're loading up on the post, you're down kind of in a butterfly, but your shoulder is right inside the post and you're just creating a wall. That's what you're doing. So for bad angle shots. So I'm going to
Okay,
say
yeah. I'll put a picture of it
yeah,
in there just
yeah.
so that other
So
people get that.
yeah, yeah. And I've got a really good one, the Hellbuck I can send to you
I totally
that
used to do
that I've
this
shared
because
with.
I thought it looked like the right thing to do.
Yeah. So, you know what? It's tough because what you want to do in RVH is you want to take away all the daylight. And it's a bad angle situation when you go down. But what I've seen, the overuse is the skater will wheel behind the net and it'll go out to the hash marks on the wall. And I'll still see goalies down in the RVH. You don't see it as much. I just think it's overused a little bit. And sometimes I'd rather see a goaltender standing up on his feet, hugging the post, especially when they're at the goal line. Not always, because a bang bang play, a pass low to high, and the guy rips it. If you're already in the butterfly, it's a lot less work, and you can get to your spot a little bit easier. So there's really, it's very difficult to determine when to use it, when not to use it, but it comes down to your instincts. I do see guys when the puck is halfway up the wall, guys still in the RVH, and that's kind of I don't like that at all. I'd rather have them up on their feet more.
That's a great point, coach. I feel like I have noticed that as well, especially the last like 5-10 years with goalies. Guys have gotten either more comfortable going out to get that puck to a detriment, or they hug that post forever, like you're talking about, and they end up almost
Yeah,
stagnant, it looks like. And by the time there's a shot coming to them, they're like, wait, I gotta readjust almost. Obviously that's not as simple
yeah.
as it
Well,
is.
there's also sadly a growing trend of hip injuries, labrum situations with goaltenders where they have to have their hips worked on. And I think a lot of this is attributed to the overuse of the RVH because you're just the situation you're in, you're up, down, up, down, up, down all the time. And I've seen it so many times, and I've seen younger goalies, teenagers especially, but everyone's body is, built differently. So it's going to affect different goalies in a different way. So I think you have to keep that in mind when you're coaching. You know, suggest once in a while try to stay on your feet a little bit more, but it's a trend. The RVH is a good move. I'm not against it whatsoever, and there's a time and a place for it. But I'm really against overusing it. And, and if you can avoid overusing it, you might save your hips a little bit. It's a tough situation. I've probably had boy, half dozen goalies over the years that have had to have their hips done. And the earlier, once you have your hips done, usually you're good for the rest of your playing career. But I think when you're 15, 14, 15, 16, and you're growing really fast, just at rapid rate, that's when you can do some damage, I think. And maybe it doesn't appear for a couple of years later, but if you're going to have your hips done, the earlier the better. And if you can feel that pain in your hips, sometimes it's both of them, and sometimes just one. If you can feel that, get it addressed. And if your doc says you need surgery, get it done, get it out of the way. I'd rather have you miss a season when you're 16 than when you're 19.
Yeah.
Then I actually have a goalie right now in Omaha, Tyler Hayden, who is not because of RVH, but he had hip dysplasia, and he had just some things that he was born with. His hips are a little out of whack, and he's having both hips done, one hip at a time. It's about a 3-month recovery period for each hip, and he's doing quite well. But he and I and his parents debated this. He could still play with it. He played with pain, but I encouraged him to say, let's just get it done. You're 16, really talented goalie. And I said, would you rather go through this when you're 19? And you're trying to make, start your career as a junior goalie or heading into college? And the answer was no, let's just get it done. So he had it done. He's in the middle of it now. So he's pretty much recovered from the first one. And actually, he was on the ice with us this week for the first time. Just no equipment, just skates and a helmet and gloves and a stick. He just wanted to feel the ice, and he was the happiest kid around.
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, and so I think at the end of this month, end of September, he goes in for hip number 2, and so he'll be out a little bit longer. So all of October, November, December, January, I think. And then maybe in February, he'll start to recover enough where he can get on the ice. So his season is washed because he had he had to have his hips done. But getting back to your original question about, habits that you see out of goalies, that's probably number one is overuse. In my book, overuse of the RVH. Again, I'm not against it. I think it's a good tool to know how to do, and if you do it, you better be airtight. But I'd rather also see more goalies stay on their feet a little bit more when the puck is behind them.
It's like you said, time and place for
It
it.
goes out of your yeah, there is. Your instincts are everything, and that's what really when you're watching goalies, I'm watching for their natural instincts. And some guys have it, some guys don't, and some guys learn it. Again, as time goes on, your instincts really, they shine, or they don't shine, or the other. So the ones that have really good instincts, and the play or the situation comes naturally to them, those are the ones that typically keep moving up.
When you mentioned and brought up RVH, and I started to look up the term, and the first guy I thought of was Carey Price. As much as it pains me to admit as a Bruins fan, I remember watching. He didn't use it a ton, and he didn't make a ton of saves in that position, but he used it as a push-off point or as a basis for where he was in the blue paint a lot. He used
Yeah.
it to get out in front and get aggressive a lot.
Yeah, and when you're, RVH, when you go down your skate, there's 3 ways to do it. You can get your toe bridge, so the point between the bottom of your pad and the toe of your skate. That's the ultimate place where you can slide into the post. You could go skate on post, but if you have your skate on post, there's a little bit of daylight because you can't get your gear up against it all the way. Or you can wrap your pad inside, which is going to take you out of position a little bit.
I don't like that one.
And what's that?
I don't like that one. The one where you wrap your pad inside the post. I don't like that one at all.
Well, you put yourself in a position where you can't push. Like if you've got to go the opposite way all of a sudden, the toe bridge is the best. Skate on post obviously is pretty good, but goalies are always kind of thinking ahead when you're in the situation where you're on the right post, for example, and you got to get to the left side. You need something to push off, right? And if your pad is wrapped around or underneath, or you're above the post and you have nothing to push off, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. but having your skate against the post is just naturally, it's just common sense, going to give you at least something to push off, and you can just get to your new spot really, really rapidly. Again, sealing the ice.
Yeah, Carrie the picture I used, Carey Price used the inside the not inside the post, but on the post to push off. And I mean, as a bad skater, me personally, that was the only way I could do it. I didn't have an option of
Yeah,
using the other two styles, but that's
yeah.
how.
Imagine
Go ahead. Go ahead, coach.
Imagine being imagine and things happen so fast. The pace of everything is incredibly fast, and you've got to get to your spot. If you're playing high school hockey or AAA hockey or junior hockey, things don't happen quite as rapidly. But as you get older, you've got to be elite at that. And all of these situations have, they have to come naturally to you and how you react to them. But again, comes down to skating, and where your skates are, but you have to do all these little things like sealing the ice, and your depth control is really important too. The guy has the puck behind the net and he wheels out in front. If you're sinking back on the goal line, all he's got to do is hit the net. It's probably going to go in. So you've got to get out a little bit. You gotta gain some ice a little bit. But the risk of that, if you gain ice on him, what if you keep skating it? It goes across. So you're going to rely on your pushes to stay there. And you try to keep that puck in the middle of your chest, just for the perfect angle. In the heat of the battle, a guy skating all the way across the crease is pretty rare because he's probably going to get his head taken off by
Yeah,
an effective defenseman. Uh, but you've got to take away as much net as you can, all the time. And just try to make sure that the shooter doesn't have anything to shoot at. And a lot of elements go into this, right, Gehrig?
yeah. I mean, it's the reason I love the game and why it was so frustrating to start playing it later because you don't realize. Again, I mentioned earlier, like I thought it would be the easiest position for a non-skater when I signed up to play goalie at 16 years old because I had no idea, just much
Yeah,
like most of these individual positions, how much core and leg and glute strength you need just to be able to be in the right spot most of the time.
yeah. And I remember when Connor Hellebuck was introduced to a gentleman named Adam Francilia, who works with his agent, Hellebuck's agent is Ray Petco. So they have a firm called Alpha Hockey, and Ray represents quite a few goalies in the NHL as a player agent. But part of that package is Adam Francilia, and Adam really works, I mean, unbelievably amount on goalies on their core. And I'll provide some video of drill that he worked with on Hellebuck, for example, just to strengthen his core. So it just helps you stay in control, and it's a big, big deal. But prior to that, Helly did pretty well without mastering his core. The strength that he needs to have. But to be an elite goalie, you got to have that down. And but Adam Francilia is like the goalie guru, in terms of your skating, your posture, the muscles you use, everything that goes into it. He's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And he has, like, the guys that he works with is like a who's who's, Vasilevsky, Hellebuck. I mean, you go right down the line and he works with all of these guys, and he's not on the ice with them all the time, but he has worked with them and still works with them. But I like to get the list of guys that he works with because it's pretty impressive. And I've been very fortunate to be affiliated with A-Fran for, almost 10 years, over 10 years, since I think 2015. So it's been right around 10 years. So I've known him a decade and been around him, and I try to be like a sponge whenever I'm around this guy. He's really, really good. But they were very happy to get Connor Hellebuck on board with their agency when he changed agents, I think 2 years into his NHL career. But part of that package deal was Adam Francilia, and just amazing. But you got to be around the guy to appreciate him. Adam Francilia looks like he's 32 years old and he's in his 50s. So he eats well, and we used to do Net 360 in Kelowna, and Adam and his wife would create meals for the staff, and it would be everything natural and some really different foods. So there would be Ryan Sear, for example, the goalie coach out west, who's had a great career. Wade Flaherty, for example. Um, there's there's a bunch of goalie coaches that we were all together, and we would plan an escape once in a while and go to Burger King just to have some natural, not natural food, but some real tasty food. But Anne Francilla covers everything, what you eat and control of your body and the fuel you put in your body is everything. But what he will do is he will travel to a client's home. For example, he and his wife will prepare meals. They'll Ziploc them, vacuum pack them, put them in a freezer, obviously, so you can have them whenever you want. But really healthy stuff and all natural.
Yeah, that's legit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. So a lot of little things go into this. If you want to ask your body to do a lot on the ice and off the ice as well, you got to put the right fuel in. And I know Connor's done a really good job of that, and other goalies that we've had on the ice out there, they take really good care of their bodies. So it's obviously very important to these guys.
Yeah, I mean the culture. That's not just hockey in general. It's sports, and I mean you start preparing these kids at 14, 15 with a diet and a workout regimen. It's insane. That's why.
Yeah, I remember
Oh, good.
a really quick story talking about diet and where Helly is with what he puts in his body. We were in Kelowna, and we were typically done with our days right around noon. So we wanted to leave time for golf in the afternoon. I remember one particular day, he didn't get a chance to fuel himself in the morning. So it's right around lunchtime. We get to the golf course and there's no food. And they had Snickers bars or whatever. And I said, just grab a Snickers bar. No, I can't eat that. I can't do that. And finally, he had no choice. He said, all right, So he grabbed the Snickers bar and he ate it and he got sick to his stomach.
Oh, I was gonna say, is this unironically a Snickers ad unfolding in real life?
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah, the opposite. But I'll never forget that. And I mean, he was starving. He skipped lunch or
So
skipped
he eats
breakfast or
that
something.
good?
Yeah.
God,
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
really did.
you know my dad well enough by now. Snickers, that wouldn't even touch his like. It wouldn't even affect him. We'd need 3 or 4 before he got
Uh,
and even any sort of sugar rush.
yeah. Well, I've stayed at Hellebuck's house so many times in Winnipeg, and his wife, Andrea, is a phenomenal cook. I mean, unbelievable. And I look forward to going there, and she always makes, we never go out to eat. Kind of hard for him to go out in public and eat anyway, so it's a
Yeah.
win-win. I stay home and eat, but the meals that she prepares just incredible and really healthy. And so I know he eats well. He likes his steak like everyone does, but in general, she's a phenomenal cook. But the other thing too is that there are two kids, Huey and Violet, and they're like 1 and 3. But as they grow older, they're going to eat the same way. They're going to eat healthy. So it's just for the family's sake, it's a win-win. But Andrea is phenomenal, a great lady, anyway, but phenomenal in the kitchen and just does a great job for that family.
I have so many more comments, Coach. Every time you bring up something, I have a story or 2 questions that unfold right after. But
It's easy to get off the whatever subject we're on, but
yeah,
go ahead.
exactly. Did you want to bring up any more drills? We've talked about a few here. A lot about
There's one skating drill that I know I sent you clips. So I called it the leap of faith, where you're going across a blue line and you explode off of one skate as you're turning. You turn the other way and you land on your other skate and you're going to hold it. And it's really it's very awkward when you're first learning it. Like Caden Lenz, again, I keep mentioning his name, but this kid masters stuff so quickly. He started it and he looked like the biggest ugly duckling you've ever seen, and now he's got it down. He looks like a pro. So as you master this drill, the object is obviously when you land and you're landing facing the opposite direction, right? You want to try to get as much height as you can. And when you land, hold it for a split second. And that's where the edge control really comes in. So when you take off and you spin and you land, that's really awkward. And I've got some younger goalies I have right now that are in the 16-year-old range. And I got a kid from Dallas who's on the ice with us. And He's for the first time he tried it and he couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. And he's watching other guys do it. So it just takes, and I told him, I said, in a month you'll be great at this. So just trust it. But again, it's about edge control. These are not drills you're going to do in a game, obviously, the leap of faith. But I think it's just about edge control. And they learn it. And I know, most NHL goalies are big. I know Jeremy Swayman does this particular one a lot. And he's really, really big on doing edge work before or after his workouts. And this leap of faith is one of them that he does. So all we do is we steal drills from each other, and we're really good at it. But you've got to be able to break it down too and explain to the guys and make them understand how important it is. But it's part of the edge work world, and it's critical to the success of any goalie.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just good hockey advice, but I think it's just good advice for life in general. You've mentioned it or danced around it at least. Is you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, especially as a goalie,
Yep.
because you're going to be
Yep.
thrust into a lot of positions where it's just you don't have time to react. You have to think and just act right there. So
Yep. Yep. Awkward situations. And if you get enough reps in practice, those awkward situations aren't going to feel awkward, and you'll know how to handle them, and you'll eat it up. It'll be great.
I mean, if you've done it 100 times, it's not even a
Yeah.
thought. You just
Yeah.
trained, learned
Yeah.
behavior.
Also different than typing on your keyboard,
Exactly. Or your
and,
phone
100
for
years.
these kids you're teaching now.
Yeah. Yeah. 100 years ago when I was in high school, my dad forced me to take a typing class. Or forced all of my siblings. We had to take the typing class. They used to be manual typewriters, which people don't even know what they are anymore. But we had to learn how to type, and it's just memory, and it's just muscle memory. But I get to the point where I was working on a newspaper as I was getting older, and I could type like 125 words a minute, and really, really fast. But it's no different. Repetition is a big deal.
10,000
And
hours.
I'm all, yeah, the drills that I like, I've got, 100 drills to do, but there's a core number of drills, 6 or 7 drills that to me, I don't care. I don't care what the goalie's mentality is. I want them to do them just to get reps in. Okay, you know the drill. You think it's boring. Once you master the drill, work on your pace, and your control, and just get reps in, and then we'll go on to something else. We don't need to spend 20 minutes on one drill. Just get reps in, like the backdoor drill that we were talking about earlier. And repetition is everything.
Amen. You got any more, Coach? I think we should save a few drills for next one. I think we covered a lot here.
Yep. Yeah, and you've got the video to break that down. I'm going to send you a picture of Hellebuck on a post on an RVH situation. I've got a really good one
I thought you were going to
somewhere.
say eating his rabbit food, but yeah, either one of those will
No,
work.
no, but I'll fire. I'll fire. He's got a great dog. He's got an Alaskan Malamute.
I love those.
Yeah, yeah,
Beautiful
and
dog.
Tinley is his name, and great dog. So when Winnipeg is 30 below commonly in the wintertime, the
Yeah.
dog sleeps outside.
Yeah, that's an
The
awesome
dogs
dog.
they want to sleep outside. They're just great family dog, really gentle, and but good pup. They got him. I think as a
Do you got your
8-week-old
dog with you,
puppy,
Coach?
right at my feet. Two of
You
them.
wanna show him off or her off? Which one you got?
They're out. They're out like a light. They're
Okay,
sleeping.
okay. I heard him earlier. That's why I was wondering.
Mhm. Yeah, I got to take them down to the park pretty soon.
Alrighty, Coach.
We have a routine in the morning when I'm not traveling. We have a routine where I have my coffee and toast or whatever, and then I'll take them down to the park, and they get a little antsy. But they're great dogs, and we have
Alrighty.
a nice. But what do you got going the rest of the day, Gehrig?
Nothing much. Are you a football guy, Coach? You watch football?
Yeah, I do. I do. My wife is a huge football fan, probably more pro than college. But I follow college football a little bit.
Yeah, we're
I
mostly
never played football, but I'm a armchair quarterback. But I know sports, and I like to watch football. Who do
yeah.
you like?
Yeah, I'm a big football guy too. So we're just probably hanging out with the little guy waiting for football today.
Yeah, yep. Who's
Enjoying the
your
day.
team? Who do you like?
Patriots guy. I'm Boston all around.
Yep,
So
always. Yep. Hey, Bill Belichick is the one guy who started the hoodie craze, I believe. Everyone's got hoodies. I've got a dozen hoodies, I think.
Mhm.
And I think he's the reason why hoodies, like everyone wears hoodies.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a hoodie guy, if that's not obvious from the first 3 episodes of the show, but this is a Kurt special, by the way. This was probably like $120 stitched up the middle.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Oh, I
Yeah,
like
pretty
that.
cool. So
I
there you go.
like
That's
that.
my
Oh,
fandom
yeah.
right there.
I love that.
So,
Yeah, that's awesome. A lot of people either have that or they wish they had that.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Big Boston fans. My
it's one
my
of
whole
those things where I
family,
wear it
I
in
have a lot.
Tennessee now, and I either get a glare or a boy like a silent salute from a fellow New Englander.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I can imagine that may not go well in different parts of the country. But all right, brother. Anything else you want to jump on, or are we good?
Nah, coach, I think this was great. If you guys go to Spotify and you look up Inside Edge Podcast, if you go to YouTube and check for on my dad's channel where we post the complete game, there right there is the Inside Edge Podcast. I started posting them last week. Every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. they'll go up. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'll send you a link after
So
this, coach.
if I just go to YouTube,
Yeah, I'll
can I?
send you a link that you can send around Spotify as well. It's an easier listening app
Okay.
if you listen to podcasts and stuff. That's what I listen to
Okay.
podcasts on. We're on there as well.
Awesome. That would be great. I appreciate that. That would be great. I haven't seen him yet. Your dad called me 2 weeks ago and said, "Oh, it's awesome. You should see it. It's great."
Yeah.
I said, "Okay, well, I haven't seen it yet."
All righty, coach.
All right. All right. All the best to your family.
You as well. I'll talk to you next week.
Take care, man. Bye bye.